In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to get a job in 6 minutes. Let's go. Now, when I say 6 minutes, what am I talking about? As a recruiter, I can tell you that every single minute of an interview does matter. It does matter what you say, how you come across. But the reality is the first 3 minutes of an interview and the last 3 minutes of the interview, that is where you really leave your mark and increase the likelihood of you getting an offer. Now, this isn't just Ben the recruiter saying this. There's actually a term in psychology called the serial positioning effect. And what it states is the beginning of something and the end of something makes up a much bigger part of your recollection of how it went than any part of the middle. And the same holds true for interviewing. So if you can nail the very beginning of your interview and the very end of your interview, you're going to increase the likelihood that they remember you fondly as a candidate and increase the likelihood that you end up getting an offer. Now, I want to start with the beginning. The beginning of your interview starts before you even answer your first question. Before they ask you anything about yourself, the way you come off, the energy you give off, and the interactions you have actually color their perception of you immediately. So how do you maximize that? Well, when you walk into the room where you're going to be interviewing someone, you want to be smiling. You want to be standing tall and confident. If they say something that's funny, you want to laugh a little bit. You want to be warm and give off approachability. This immediately sets you off to a good tone and allows them an easier time connecting with you, which is going to position you as a strong candidate. Additionally, you want to make good eye contact. If you're looking away, you're going to come off as timid. They want confidence in most occasions. In most interviews, they're looking for someone who is confident. And lastly, you want to match their energy. If someone is a little bit more quiet and a little bit more reserved, you want to match that. But if they are a bit more boisterous and they're louder and they're a bit more engaging and they're smiling and they've got a lot more energy to them, you want to match that. People are going to connect with you if you're able to mirror their energy. Not in a way that is overly obvious. Don't try to, if they have an accent, don't do their accent. But just from a subtle energy and physical perspective, try to mirror them so that you're very similar. Now, most of the time, the first interview question you are going to get is tell me about yourself. And this is the last thing you can do in that first 3 minutes window to really crush it, right? You've come in, you've made a good first impression, you've got great energy, you are matching their energy, you are warm, you are friendly, you are confident. But the next thing that you need to do is you need to nail this interview question. So how do you do that? Now, most people make the mistake of going straight into, here's what I did, this is my background, going through chronologically, or they make the mistake of telling their life story. Well, when I was a little kid, I always wanted a blank. But what you really want to be doing here is you want to be going through a hit list of why you are an amazing candidate for the role. Talk about your experience specifically where it aligns. Does your education align? Mention it. Do the first couple of roles, do they position you to have a broad base of understanding that are going to help you succeed in that role? Go through that effectively. It should be about 90% business and maybe 10% personal if it applies. But that's what you're aiming for here. You want to use this as an opportunity, not to tell them everything about you, but rather tell them everything about you that makes you a great fit for this role from a business perspective in a succinct, efficient manner. Lastly, at some point in that, if you can align how your belief system or their culture really lines up with you and your motivating factors, if you can somehow seamlessly weave that in there, that is a strong way to close out answering this question. Now let's go to the end of the interview, because there's really only 2 things you need to do to succeed at an end of the interview that's going to allow you to complete this 2-part checklist. Now, the first thing is you just need to have great questions to ask your interviewer. They're going to say to you, Ben, do you have any questions? And you need to have great questions. If you don't have great questions, they're going to assume that you didn't prepare or you were uninterested in the role. On the flip side, if you have great, compelling questions, well, they're going to view you as a candidate who is clearly interested, prepared, and is thoughtful. Now, at the very end of this video, I'm actually going to link a great video that gives you 27 different questions to ask in your interview, so stick around for that. However, the second thing you need to do to effectively win the last 3 minutes of your interview is you need to ask the closing question. And this closing question is, do you have any questions or concerns about my ability to do the job? Now, this should be the last question you ask, right? If you ask them 4 questions, this should be number 4. What you're effectively doing here is you're giving them an opportunity to surface any concerns they have about your candidacy, right? If they feel like you don't have enough management experience, this gives them an opportunity for to say that, and more importantly, it gives you an opportunity to counter in a polite way. So if they give you that feedback like, Ben, we feel like you don't have enough of this, don't get defensive. Instead, thank them for their concern and tell them that you didn't do a good enough job explaining it, but you actually do have that, right? Like if they say, Ben, you don't have enough management, thank you for giving me that feedback. I think I might not have given you enough information about my background. I actually do a lot of blank at this company blank, right? And you can actually go and counter it. Now, don't be defensive, but you do want to show them, hey, your concern, it actually doesn't need to be a concern. I do have that experience, and this gives you an opportunity to do that. Now, on the flip side, they might say, no, Ben, I don't have any concerns. I think you're well aligned for the role, and I'm really interested in you as a candidate. And this gives you an opportunity to close strong and say, great. That's really good to hear because I'm incredibly interested in this role. And after meeting with you, I'm even more excited. I'm looking forward to next steps. And then you close out strong. Now, if you can do that, the first 3 minutes, you nailed it. Last 3 minutes, you nailed it, and you've positioned yourself to be a really strong candidate. Now, this video is over, but I want you to go watch this video here. I told you earlier that one of the 2 things you need to do at the end of your interview is you need to have great questions to ask them. But I can tell you there is very little separating not so good questions and great questions. This video right here is going to teach you great questions to ask in your interview to help you separate yourself as an amazing candidate. You got this.